for you all going into a runoff and voting for me. I also want to say something else. I think that this is a time where our nation is being divided, and we shouldn't be. We should be brought together because this is the greatest country in the world. And we, like the other man was saying about breadcrumbs, I don't think we should be fighting about breadcrumbs. I think we should be working to come together and work further to keep things good and keep peace. We're seeing situations where Christopher Columbus, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, all kinds of statues are being attacked. And it seems to be just an effort to take down history. And whether I see a statue that may be something that I would fully disagree with, like Adolf Hitler, maybe a statue of Satan himself, I would not want to say take it down. But again, it's so that I could tell my children and teach others about who these people are, what they did, and what they may be about. So as a congressional candidate, I just wanted to come forward and make a statement, and thank you all for hearing everyone in your community, and also let voters know where I stand on the matter, because I'm looking to work for everyone here, and I felt like it was important for you to hear me.
Oh my God. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene during remarks last year that she wouldn't support the removal of hypothetical statues of Hitler or Satan so that I can tell my children and teach others about who these people are. First of all, and I may be way off base here, but maybe try reading a book. Maybe the only way to preserve history isn't by erecting statues of people like Hitler, and that instead you could, read words from a page, especially considering that's how history is actually taught. And look, I really don't want to dwell on this tired argument about statues, but let's just use some common sense here. A statue isn't viewed solely as a historical artifact. Statues are used to preserve an idea or a way of thinking. When it's out in public, it's conferring that idea to the place it's in. That's why Germany, for example, doesn't have statues of Nazis, because they understand the impression that's given by memorializing something like that in public. That doesn't mean that history ceases to exist. It doesn't mean it's erased. It doesn't mean your heritage disappears. It very simply enough means that you're not endorsing what those people stood for. If you do keep those statues out in public, then you quite simply are endorsing what those statues stood for. Again, history is taught in books, not statues. If you're trying to keep a statue up, you're making it very clear why. And bear in mind, this isn't the only depraved statement about the Holocaust that Marjorie Taylor Greene's made in just the last few days. She also went on a conservative podcast and suggested that the House mask mandate is comparable to the Holocaust. And she then took to Twitter saying, quote, "Vaccinated employees get a vaccination logo just like the Nazis forced Jewish people to wear a gold star." And I'm not going to dignify these statements with a response, other than to give this nuanced take. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a moron. But what's especially telling is that today, which is 5 days after this whole Holocaust storyline was introduced, Republican leadership decided to finally condemn Marjorie Taylor Greene. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy issued a statement saying, quote, "Marjorie is wrong, and her intentional decision to compare the horrors of the Holocaust with wearing masks is appalling. Let me be clear, the House Republican Conference condemns this language." The number 2 House Republican, Steve Scalise, also responded to Greene's comments for the first time on Tuesday with a statement from his office saying, quote, "Representative Scalise does not agree with these comments and condemns these comparisons to the Holocaust." And Elise Stefanik, the newly elected number 3 House Republican, also responded to the controversy in a tweet that didn't even manage to use Greene's name. She said, quote, "Equating mask wearing and vaccines to the Holocaust belittles the most significant human atrocities ever committed. We must all work together to educate our fellow Americans on the unthinkable horrors of the Holocaust. Hashtag never again." But here's the thing. The fact that it took the entire Republican leadership 5 days to disavow this woman's insane comparisons of wearing a mask during a pandemic to Jews being slaughtered during the Holocaust is a testament to just how spineless that entire conference is. It also shows just how impotent that leadership is, and by the same token, how powerful they've allowed the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the party to become. Thanks to their own failure to take on the insane wing of their own party, those people are now the most powerful wing of their party. And so that we're clear, that's only going to hurt them. Because now, they've allowed Marjorie Taylor Greene to become the face of the GOP, meaning that while Democrats are busy pushing for actual legislation, like an infrastructure package, funding for the care economy, creating millions of green jobs, police reform, and shoring up our democracy, Republicans have decided that their brand will be the lady who thinks that taking even the simplest step to make sure you don't die during a pandemic is akin to a concentration camp. Yeah, how could that possibly go wrong? But what's most ironic here is that here's a video of Marjorie Taylor Greene attacking Holocaust comparisons in 2019 when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez likened it to the migrant detention centers that were created by the Trump administration.
AOC and some of the other Democrats that are starting to actually call the where they're keeping the migrants down at the border, they're actually comparing that to concentration camps. And that's incomprehensible to me and to you and many Americans, because in concentration camps, over 11 million people were murdered. Those is some of the most vile evil in our whole entire world history. And it's just so disturbing that AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, could actually compare that concentration camps, the murder of 6 million Jews, the murder of more than 5 million other people because of their skin color, because of their religion, because of their culture, because of their ethnicity, to compare that to where migrants are being kept down at the border as they're coming in by the thousands daily, like 4,000 a day. You can't even comprehend it. She should be shamed by everyone that she's actually using those terms and making that comparison. And I think it's an embarrassment to our country that we actually have a congresswoman that would do such a thing. And I'm calling her out big time. I think everyone should call her out. She should never, ever make that comparison. It's insulting, extremely insulting to the families who have family members that were murdered or survived concentration camps. And that just shows you a lot about who she is as a person, and then also anyone that agrees with her and the Democrat Party.
I guess somewhere along the line, Holocaust comparisons went from completely forbidden to something that she's doing multiple times per week. This is what the modern GOP does. It radicalizes people, even people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who are already radical. If you want to succeed in the Republican Party, you have to be willing to have the most extreme positions to appeal to a constantly shrinking base of people who themselves espouse the most extreme positions. And so that we're clear, it's getting worse and fast. The fact is that if this is who the GOP has decided to showcase, fine. Because let's not forget, after 4 years of Trump, Republicans lost the House, they lost the Senate, and they lost the White House. Americans are sick of being led by a party of lunatics and clowns. They've showed that at the ballot box, and they'll do it again. Marjorie Taylor Greene is only making sure that that's a reality. To see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. And for a deeper dive, check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I discuss the week's top stories and interview major players in the world of politics, like Vice President Kamala Harris, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, Katie Porter, Pete Buttigieg, Nancy Pelosi, and many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.